Welcome back. You're watching NDTV Profit. The markets have given up their morning gains but are still holding on to gains about a third of 1%. That's a nifty for you. And the Sensex is a shade better actually. It's up nearly 0.5%. 30,600 thereabouts for the Sensex. Today, there is a little bit of selling pressure being seen in some of the pharmaceutical names, and that is being a drag on the Nifty. Tata Power is also down 3% today. Lupin, Sun Pharma, BPCL, GAIL, SBI, Dr. Reddy's are the ones that are seeing some profit taking. Bank of Baroda and ACC are also lower. Of course, ITC for a heavyweight is the biggest gain, up 3% on the GST buzz. You've got Indiabulls Housing Finance, Bharti Infratel, L&T and Adani Ports amongst the other gainers as well. Let's pull up the stock of Justdial for you. Justdial came out with the fourth quarter earnings and they were below estimates. That stock is now sub 500 rupees a share, down 3%. Profits came in at 25.4 crore rupees, a drop of 37%. Total income was up about 6% at 181.7 crore rupees. EBITDA margins also lower at 17.7% versus 20.8% in the same period a year ago. I spoke with Mr. Ramkumar Krishnamachari, the CFO at Justdial, and I asked him about the revenue growth. The operating revenues for the fourth quarter grew just 6% when you compare to the same period a year ago. I asked him, was this single digit growth because of heavy discounting, because the realizations were weaker than earlier?
No. Okay, I'll tell you that, you have to remember that last 2-3 years we have not practically advertised at all. So what that has happened is, and as a result, the user growth has been very tepid, and that has had an impact on our renewal customers and the amount that they pay. And however, that has to be offset by sign up in new customers. So which is why actually this has been a drag on our revenue, coupled with the fact that we had to execute on the sales front. So both on the user side as well as on the sales side, our execution we have to get back on track. So which is what we are doing currently, is to focus on the user engagement side, which is what the ad campaign has done, coupled with the great product that we have launched, the lighter version of the app, coupled with the core search plus, JD Social and JD Pay, and that's something which we have to communicate, and we have started communicating, and the consumer focused communication will start in the next few months. So the growth in traffic coupled with sales force and sales execution will help us get back to double digit growth that we have seen. So it is only a question of matter of time, and that we our entire focus right now is to get the core search back on double digit growth, and that is what we are doing currently. And we believe that as far as demonetization is concerned, we did have couple of months when the demonetization happened, but then we are past that. The business is back to normal. It's only a question of us executing on the sales front, and that is what is going to determine whether we stay in single digit or we get into the double digit and see the historical growth rate.
Can you tell us what was the growth in paid campaigns?
The paid campaign grew about 18% for this year on year, as far as the total paid customer is concerned.
Can you tell us what was the growth in the database listing?
The database also grew about 9 to 10%. It's total about 17.5 million listings we have in total.
Can you talk to us about the realizations? They are lower. Was it because of discounting? Your realizations are not looking up.
No, not at all. So what has happened is incremental sales is customers are signed up from smaller towns and cities, and the growth in number of paid campaign is coming from more from the smaller towns and cities, where the average ticket size is about 40% of what you would sell in tier 1 cities. So it is just a proportion or the mix which is showing an impact on the average realization. Once the tier 1 cities get back into the growth or double digit growth, you will see that the realization will also improve.
Now, the much awaited TV ad is out. Your profits are down 37%. What was the increase in advertising expenses?
No, certainly we said that we are going to spend about 100 crore on the ad campaign to basically reinforce, reiterate our brand to start with and introduce the Search Plus Social JD Pay features to the consumers and our customers. Now, what was spent in Q4 is about total we spent about 11 crore, but definitely the rest of the 100 crore will be spent in the next 3 to 4 quarters.
When it comes to hiring, employee headcount is lower, employee costs are also lower on a sequential basis. What was the sales force addition in the fourth quarter? How much more will you add going ahead? Because in the third quarter, you added a number of people in the sales force.
Right. So we added about 500 odd on the sales side during the quarter. But definitely, this will be a twin strategy of add on one quarter, get productivity and efficiency in the next quarter, again add in another quarter. So our belief, net we added about 1,000 sales force during FY17. We believe that we probably will add another 1,000 to 2,000 in the sales force in FY18 as well. And as I mentioned, this is going to be a volume game. This is going to be driven by number of customers that you sign up, and definitely we will expect a bounce back in the renewal amount or the renewal revenue once we see the impact of the ad campaign as we move forward. So overall net we believe that the Salesforce addition will continue in the same trajectory that we have seen, if not on an incremental basis in FY18 than what we have seen in FY17.
Your margins at 17.7% are lower than the 20% posted in the same period a year ago. Despite employee rationalization, costs are growing at a rate higher than the top line. Won't margins then remain under pressure? Can they go back to the 20+ levels at all?
Certainly our belief and conviction is once we get the top line growth to 20%, margin will come back to 25-30%. Now the question is how soon we get there. And as I mentioned, our entire organization focus right now is get the core search revenue back on double-digit growth. The twin strategy of user engagement and the core search revenue monetization that we are seeing, both driven by volume as well as focus on the growth, overall growth in revenue. Immediate objective is to get back to double-digit and get back, then look at the historical growth rate. Look, the potential is immense. The potential is there. The ecosystem is supporting us. More and more consumers are going online. The value proposition of a platform is there. It needs to be communicated. The user needs to realize it. Now, the whole segment of internet e-commerce, it's all unraveling. It's in a flux as I speak. A lot of companies are not able to survive with the practices of deals and discount, etc. So the models are coming out, which is more driven by user engagement, user creating habits among the user community. And that's what our product, with a combination of Core Search, Search Plus, JD Social, with the friends, ratings and reviews, and the JD Pay, all combined in a single platform, both for the consumers and for the customers, for our advertisers. This is a tremendous value proposition. The end of the day, it all will boil down how effectively we communicate, how effectively we are able to get the user engagement up and going by communicating this value proposition to them, and in parallel execute on the sales front, make sure that we get the necessary sales for addition, 1,000 to 2,000 people, and get them on board and get the number of sign-ups, incremental sign-ups. So these are the two pillars that is going to drive our sales in the near future. End of the day, it will all boil down to how well we execute.
Right, and that is where some investors have concern about execution at Justdial. Sometimes the focus is on Search Plus. Now you say the core search business is in focus. You started investing in Omni business, and now there's a pause there as well. Some rumors suggest that it's on the block. So how can execution be strong when the focus keeps changing?
Yeah, I see. You have to also remember that we will also have to respond to the changes in ecosystem. 2 years back, when we looked at it, Search Plus, we felt that there could be a lot of monetization opportunity. But now it is turning out, it's very clear and apparent that Search Plus will be more for a user engagement side than rather than monetization. There will be very, very few categories where we think that can sustain and make money in the medium to long term. But we believe that your Search Plus will is turning out and be rightfully so, will be more a tool to engage with the user and keep them have the stickiness with them, create a habit for them doing transaction on a platform. So the ecosystem is also changing, so we had to respond to that. Omni is a good product, but again, as I said, we spread over too many categories. Right now we are keeping it in the back burner. We will figure out what to do on the Omni side, maybe come out with a very, very light version of Omni that can be applied to any category of business. That's something we will figure out. But having said that, certainly we should not have let the core business get to the single digit. We believe that imminently possible for us to get back into double digit growth, and that is what, as an organization, we are going to be focused on. All those distractions are going on the focus. Certainly Search Plus was a dilution from a management perspective, but we are currently intently focused on getting the core search back on track, doing everything possible for us to get there. And that's going to be, as I mentioned, our focus is get the growth back on track. Even if it means that we have to suffer on margin for a couple of quarters, we are not worried. Most important is you get the growth, top line growth to 20%, margin will automatically follow.
There is some consolidation being seen in the e-commerce space. Some startups are shut shop. There are talks of some buyouts also happening and mergers also happening. Is the competitive intensity reducing?
So, certainly it is having an impact on the user side. The reason I say that is all these deals and discounts of all these things is a thing of the past. Very, very clear that only people with very deep pocket will survive in the medium to long run. We are talking about next 5-10 years from now. So only ones which provide value, real value proposition, not the deals and discount, to the consumer in terms of better user experience, what I call a consistent and predictable consumer experience, is what going to win from a user standpoint. And we are intently focused on the user and consumer side and providing value to them in terms of a single platform, single app, do search, transact, do the social aspect of it, as well as JD Pay. And that's what is going to determine. Definitely competitive intensity has come down purely from a user engagement side, and certainly on the other hand, we do recognize that Google is getting active as far as the entire search and the local search space is concerned. But then our focus is on the user, make sure I provide value to them, communicate that value to them, and make sure that I create a habit that whenever they need anything on the local search, including both search and transact, Justdial is the platform of choice.
So can you tell us for FY18 what are your targets for revenue growth and what will be the margin performance like?
Yeah, I'm not going to pin down any number for FY18 growth. All I'm saying is that the immediate objective is going to be hitting the double-digit growth mark, and that's what we are focused on. What we might embed, I don't want to predict at this point of time. As far as margin is concerned, certainly the margins are going to be hit by the ad campaign because the full impact of the 100 crore will be felt in FY18, and certainly as I mentioned, the focus is going to be on growth, achieving growth, and making sure whatever we do it in an effective and smart way, what I call responsible hiring that we do on the sales front to achieve this double-digit growth. That is what we are going to do. As I mentioned, the moment sales hit, our top line growth hit 20%, margins will hit, excluding the one-time spend, to 25%.
So that was the management of Justdial talking about their earnings. They say that they focus on their core search business and they want to bring it to double digits. That's the immediate aim. We're going to slip into a break at this point in time. When we come back, we will keep the focus on earnings. We will speak with Mithun Chitalapalli.